We're off to Naples Airport to collect Dr. Aseem Malhotra, who's a young British cardiologist. He's a big supporter of the Mediterranean diet.
Poor diet, according to the Lancet Global Burden of Disease reports, contributes to more disease now than physical inactivity, smoking and alcohol combined.
And we know the sort of refined grains that we eat are have the biggest impact on glucose and on insulin responses. There is actually some good evidence to show that vitamin D deficiency is strongly associated with cardiovascular disease. What many people don't fully appreciate is actually the potential cardiovascular protective effects from coffee. The scientific evidence is quite clear that a high-fat Mediterranean diet in particular is going to have the most profound impact on reducing your risk of heart attack and stroke within a short space of time.
We start with the bread and the mozzarella.
The Mediterranean diet is now universally accepted as an enjoyable and robust road to health, vitality and longevity. Since the 1970s, the diet of the traditional Mediterranean people has seduced medicine, science and mankind.
The great philosopher and doctor Hippocrates talks about that your medicine is the food and that the food is your medicine.
Yet its history and the modern interpretation of the Mediterranean diet is a story of flawed scientific research, clever marketing and powerful political influence. It is also the story of Ancel Keys, the most powerful man in the history of nutrition.
This is Ancel Keys' private collection. When he sold his house, he couldn't take the books back with him and he left them all to the museum.
For 30 years, Ancel Keys lived and worked amongst the people of PIOPPI, a small village south of Naples.
My grandpa Enrico, Professor Keys, and my grandma Emilia.
So he was a close friend of your family?
My grandpa is the
Best friend.
one friend, not more.
When the war ended, Ancel Keys turned his scientific curiosity toward the new American plague, as he called it, coronary heart disease.
They show that this problem here in America is the worst in the world.
The project to study 12,000 healthy middle-aged men in 7 countries began in 1958.
Keys would become famous for his demonizing stance on cholesterol and saturated fats, and to this day it overshadows much of his work. The fat or sugar debate raged into the 1970s, and Keys focused on winning that debate, sometimes forcefully. His work in defining the lifestyle of the Mediterranean people was reduced and condensed into a politically acceptable and commercially viable low-fat food message. The lifestyle had become a diet.
Although they say this is the original food pyramid, I don't think it was actually Ancel Keys who designed it. I think it was done after him, based on his work.
Absolutely. The base of the food pyramid actually should be vegetables, olive oil, oily fish.
I've been researching Ancel Keys and the diet for about 5 years now.
Yes.
And it's unknown that later in his life he actually tried to publish a paper which redirected some of his earlier work. He had become concerned at how his work had been interpreted.
Yes.
And he was in his late 80s at the time.
Yes.
And Dr. Stephen Finney in the US had met him.
Yes.
And Ancel Keys produced a paper and said he was furious that he could not get this published.
He reached into his briefcase and took out a manuscript. He said, look at this manuscript. It's been refused by the New England Journal, JAMA, Archives of Internal Medicine. He said, I can't get this paper published. And he was furious.
Yes, Ancel Keys was quite upset about the way it had been interpreted, because I think when he lived here in PIOPPI, it was very much the lifestyle, as I said, the pleasure of eating.
Today, the Polacca region is the capital of the Mediterranean diet, and its mayor, Stefano Pisani, is the president of the slow food movement in Italy.
If you want to know the real Mediterranean lifestyle, you must go to PIOPPI, Acciaroli, Pollica, and other places in Cilento. We have a treasure.
This treasure lies not only in the diet, but the lifestyle. In this series, Dr. Malhotra and Donal O'Neill will explore and analyse the diversity of traditional foods and lifestyles across the Mediterranean region.
It's spicy, delicious.
Can the marriage of modern medical research and traditional Mediterranean values provide a solution to the global epidemic of obesity and ill health.
The food industry is not there to look after your health, they're there to make a profit, and they can manipulate and distort the information to meet that end. The same applies to the pharmaceutical industry. They have an ethical and legal responsibility to produce profit and not give you the best treatment.
Just lemon, olive oil, a little bit of salt, and this is typical from this area.
Wow.
On top of everything, a little bit of extra virgin olive oil.
It seems to be the one food that spans right across all of the Mediterranean regions.
Absolutely. Olive oil should be considered. We have to get into our mindset as almost like a medicine. You know, when they say food is a medicine, olive oil is one of those medicines.
Cheers. Cheers.